Since 1949, Shivelbine's music store has been serving musicians of all kinds with products and service. The history of the store and the significance to this region is shared by current owner Scott Shivelbine.
Hi everybody, my name's Scott Shivelbine. I am a officer and part owner of Shivelbine Music Store Incorporated. A family-owned business, now in its third generation. The first Shivelbines came from a country called Prussia. Charles William Frederick Shivelbine was a sailor, and he came over in New Orleans and had his own sailing ship in New Orleans and made a lot of money during the war with Mexico. Lost 2 children to yellow fever. He and his wife, Catherine Dirks Shivelbine, decided to get the heck out of that heat and humidity and moved to Chicago. They stopped in Cape Girardeau on the way up the river to visit her sister in Jackson, Missouri. They liked Cape so much that they decided just to stay here, so every Shivelbine since about 1858, I guess, has lived in Cape Girardeau. My grandfather, William August Shivelbine, was given the true gift from God of the musical ability of being able to play anything he wanted to, just about. He could pick out any kind of tune on the piano. He could play clarinet. He was the municipal band leader here in Cape Girardeau. He also was the high school band director. And he also wrote the Central High alma mater. He did all kinds of things musical. Had 2 sons, William Lewis and Leland Jean being my father. And William Adam Shivelbine, my grandfather, is the one who started the music store. So it's been a family tradition in Cape Girardeau for years and years. Going back prior to that, going to William August's father, whose name was August, he was a man in a time when most kids didn't get out of the county. His father, who had some money, was a sailor from New Orleans, sent him to study engineering in San Francisco in the 1870s. And then he got back from San Francisco, sent him to Germany, study more engineering. And he came back and he ran a grist mill for a while. The grist mill burned down. He opened a saloon called the Arcade, which is now the building called the Cup and Cork. He was quite the character. He's a member of the city council, big time active on the Cape County Fair Commission. And back in the day, the Cape County Fair was quite the event. August was very active in that. I have at my house a cane given to him by the Cape County Fair and Commission Board that says, "To August Shivelbine for all your work," and it's a 24 karat gold cane, beautiful. And also in August obit, it says, "To the man who practically built the Fairgrounds Park as we know it today," and we know Fairgrounds Park to be actually Capahau Park. So that's kind of a proud thing for the family, that we had a lot to do with the formation of Capahau Park, which I think really gives Cape its soul, gives it a tremendous amount of character. We've got a lot of proud family tradition in Cape, public service, had Lions Club, service clubs, all kinds of things like that. The community's been great to us, and we like to give it back when we can, through contributions and serving on the downtown boards for downtown preservation, Old Town Cape, all those kind of things. My dad was the guy that came up with the idea for Tunes of Twilight, which is a real popular Old Town Cape event that they have every summer. A business that started years ago as formerly became Shivelbine's Music in 1949, when my grandfather, William August Shivelbine, bought out his partner, Raymond F., nicknamed Peg Meyer, who was his partner, and it became purely Shivelbine Music. Up until then, it was M&S Music. And then the roots of Peg Myers goes back to the 1930s, when he had his own band instrument rental and sales place, sold Martin instruments, and was stake horse by a company called St. Louis Music Incorporated. Peg was quite the music man. He created his own market. These little schools around the area, Delta, Oak Ridge, Bealstott, you name it, all these little communities had small little country schools, and they had no band director. So Peg would go around and rent them instruments and then go by once a week and give them lessons. So he was not only the salesman, but he was also the teacher. And he created, in effect, his own market, a true music man. His legacy goes back to the 1910s and 20s and 30s when he used to play dances with such names as Peg Meyer and the Melody Kings. They played up at the old Broadway Theater. They played dances. They played on the packet boats and on the river boats, excursion cruises, all kinds of things. Peg worked for us until almost his death, and that was about in 1992. My dad and grandfather took Shivelbine's music over. Peg continued to work as a band instrument repairman, and we're making a go of it when my grandfather developed heart disease and died. To come to his relief was my uncle, William Lewis Shivelbine, my uncle Bill, who had an engineering degree from Rolla and was a very intelligent man, but he loved to play clarinet. He gave up his big-time career to come back and run a mom-and-pop music store with his brother, L.J., or Leland. My dad's nickname was Freck, for Freckles was his nickname. He came back about 1950, 1951, something like that, and we were in our old building up at 630 Broadway. And with a lot of work and good luck, they sold pianos, they sold organs, they sold some of the first electric guitars made by Leo Fender guitars, and then the Gibsons, the Les Pauls, all those things that are now tremendously valuable. Some worth six figures we had up at our store. The music store is owned by myself and my two brothers, Greg and Mike. My cousin, Bill Shivelbine, has his own separate company called Shivelbine Music and Sound, and he deals with guitars, amplifiers, PA equipment, and keyboards. We specialize in school music, calling on schools, getting kids started in playing clarinet, flute, the basic instruments, flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, and percussion. And then every once in a while an oboe player or a French horn, sometimes a baritone. And that's what we continue with to this day. When we go around, we service over 100 schools in southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, northeastern Arkansas, all the way up to Festus, Crystal City, all the way over in Illinois, Pinckneyville, Carterville, all over southern Illinois, and then parts of the Boot Heel, and then Jonesboro, Arkansas. So quite a territory that we would cover.